I will be presenting on the fraud in Dixon case study presented by myself, Sion Richards, as a part of my financial auditing investigation class, lectured by Ms. Sean Ballin for the University of Belize. Question 1. What are the threats to the code of professional conduct in this case? Explain the reason for your answer. Threats identified to the code of professional conduct in the Dixon case are advocacy threat, self-review threat, familiarity threat, and intimidation threat. Advocacy threat. The Clifton Consulting firm assisted Rita with her finances and also audited her city. The firm took the risk and supported her interests, whether it was right or wrong. Number 2, self-review threat. It is possible that the Clifton Consulting firm may have been reviewed financials that they prepared by themselves and had Sam Parr, who's an accountant, sign off to appear at another firm and audited Rita's finances. Familiarity threat. The personal relationship between Clifton Gunderson and Rita is evident. In addition, we can further see more of this threat based on the following. Having lunch and drinks with staff, which clearly shows that she socialized a lot with her staff. Being a member of the firm's softball team, and the firm preparing and performing her personal accounting finances. Intimidation threat. Whenever concerns were raised by the mayor, the firm Clifton Gunderson would dismiss every single one as if nothing was asked, clearly showing an established cultural client relationship over in beginning. Question 2. Are the claims in the auditors Clifton Gunderson made in their defense correct? Explain the reason for your answer. Claims made by the auditors Clifton claims were enough. Let's look at it again. 1. Internal controls. It's clear and evident that one person by the name of Rita is in charge of almost everything, controlling mail, mail received, invoices, and even statements, just to name a few. 2. Anomalies. Anomalies were also evident. No one decided to question Rita's wealth. Neither personal income, which was very huge, seeing that everyone who worked at Dixon was not getting a hefty sum, a hefty salary. Only Rita apparently was receiving a hefty salary. Material misstatement. Funny to not be able to realize that a fraud was taking place, being that it took 22 years for them to realize they had lost over $53 million. Number 4, maintaining professional skepticism. To see that certain invoices were fake. Some invoices were missing logos or even had misspelled names on invoices. Those should have been red flags. Lastly, auditing claims in the year 2005, where they had stated that auditing had stopped from the year 2005, but in actuality, auditing didn't stop in that year. So it's not a red flag. Well, should have been noticed. Question 3. Could this fraud have been detected in the planning phase of the audit? Explain the reason for your answer. Yes, the fraud could have been identified during the planning phase of the audit. Let us look at the following. 1. They did not have qualified staff, especially a full-time accountant. 2. The lifestyle of should have been questioned from the onset. 3. Large projects for a small town should have alerted them to do a quick fraud risk assessment. 4. Rita having too much control over all finances when it could have been evenly distributed among staff. And lastly, we look at related party involvement. I decided to look at this in particular because how is it that the comptroller's personal finances were also processed by the same firm that audited for Rita? That should have raised concern as well. So hence the reason during the planning phase of this fraud could have been easily identified by these areas. Further, if proper planning was done, fraud risk would have been assessed and would have given a determinant for deeper testing. In addition, based on the previous factors mentioned, auditors would have been able to classify Dixon as a high-risk audit, which would require more substantive testing, verification of expenditures, and confirmation of banking information and bank records. Question 4. Could this fraud have been detected in the control assurance area of the audit? Explain the reasons for your answer. Yes, this fraud could have been detected in the control assurance area of the audit based on the following. 1. There was no segregation of duties when it came to payments, banking, and procurement processes. 2. City officials having no clear knowledge of what their financials. 3. No solid confirmation of the secret bank account or a CPA being independently by an auditor. 4. Rita having all the control over bank reconciliation statements, journal entries, invoices, and mail. Further, if an auditor has detected weak internal controls, they must do the following. Increase the level of substantive testing. Look and verify all transactions one by one, confirming or linking all bank accounts with the bank themselves. In addition, if the auditor had requested a full list of all the accounts that are related to the city's name, they could have easily identified that a fraud was present. By requesting this list, they could have seen that strange account RFCPA questioned it. Question 5. Could this fraud have been detected in the substantive assurance area of the audit? Explain the reasons for your answers. Yes, this fraud could have been detected within substantive assurance of the audit based on the following. 1. Invoices. Invoices without company logos, contact numbers, and incorrect spelling. 2. Payments. Tracing back payments would have shown that they are not linked to an actual city project, as was clear. 3. Bank. Confirmation from the bank would have easily shown the secret account RFC. The 4. Analytical procedure. For such a small town, capital spending was extremely high, and ratios also could have shown the average spending pattern. Keeping in mind that indeed Dixon is a small town, and to get more, if they had seen that capital spending was on an extreme high, it sure a validator probably have gotten an auditor right away to see what was going on. But again, Rita was the only person that was controlling everything, so it would have been somewhat hard until when she decided to go on vacation. Was then her sister was able to see these incorrect statements of secret account names, these fake invoices, all of these things. She was able to talk to the mayor, mayor's authorities, crack down on these fraud activities. Lastly, we can look at Rita's personal income. By doing a substantive test on her personal income, it would have shown no form of documentation for her tax returns. So, if the auditors would have done any of these or all of the above that I mentioned under the substantive assurance of the audit, they would have been able to detect the fraud before it reached its 22nd year. They would have been able to detect it earlier on, and it wouldn't have been able to reach this far. Question 6. What type of audit testing and audit evidence would have been key to identifying the fraud? Types of audit testing and audit evidence that would have been key in identifying the fraud are: 1. Inspection of supporting documents. Also could be called documentary evidence. Simply meaning looking at who does the approvals and the documents as it relates to procurement. Also, the verification of authority when it would come to opening bank accounts. This would be a good area to have started from. And then by doing that, then everything would be able to trickle down to you being able to see where everything was headed and being able to just see that one particular individual who was doing all of these things. Secondly, we could look at analytical review. If a proper review is done and everything is analyzed, it could be seen that what they had budgeted and what was actually, spent could easily see something going on there. Not only so, but the unusual spending, capital expenditure, all of a sudden it went extremely high. And comparing Rita's lifestyle, knowing that she owns this and her lifestyle was just not adding up. So an analytical review is the second area that would indeed help to identify this fraud. Thirdly, we look at evaluation of internal controls. By looking at internal controls, you have a better understanding of who is in charge of what. For instance, we could look at looking at what duties were assigned to one individual, or being able to review who has access to the mailing, who has access to cash, who has access to bank statements, these internal controls. So hence the reason why point number 3, evaluating internal controls is essential in order for us to know exactly the processes and the way of who is in charge of what, and if due process is being followed. 4 would be confirmations. Confirmations simply saying that confirming information on bank accounts directly with the bank itself. Also, not only that, we're looking at balances. The balances and those who sign off, who are authorized signatories, and the confirmation of the invoices with the Illinois Department of Transport. These confirmations will be very effective and essential in order for proper auditing and also be able to identify fraud as well. And the reason why I selected point number 4 part of evidence. Point number 5, vouching and tracing. Simply, this is looking at documentations, specifically looking at invoices, seeing if it's authentic, looking and see what is missing, if it has all the information, if all the information on these checks out, whether it be contact numbers, addresses, email accounts, different things like that. We would have to make sure that all these things are legit. So looking at the payments and matching the payments to physical projects that were claimed that the city had. For example, whether it could be maybe a road project for something to that effect, matching the payment, seeing if a project actually did take place and they said it did. And also looking at expenditures and comparing it to the minutes that were written by a city council. You should also verify the approvals of these spending. And it was also a key area because you need to know exactly and also be able to verify that proper approvals were done. And an easy way to do that would actually to look at the minutes that were done by the city council. And lastly, we will do an inquiry, which is simply challenging everything, seeing the processes that management does, asking for proper explanations on processes, so you can get a clear understanding of exactly what is going on. Also being able to request whatever documents that you need, especially because personal income and receipts. So By combining all 6 of these areas, or these tests could have easily revealed the fake accounts and fake invoices. And this, from the onset, if this was done, this would have been detected long before, earlier in the year, before it reached 22 years. So by following these tests, the fraud could also be identified as well. Thank you for listening.